Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you the third wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pack DLC. This wave comes with London Loop from Mario Kart Tour, Boo Lake from Mario Kart Super Circuit, Rock Mountain from Mario Kart 7, Maple Treeway from Mario Kart Wii, Berlin Byways from Mario Kart Tour, Peach Gardens from Mario Kart Tour, Merry Mountain, also from Mario Kart Tour, although for some reason it doesn't list it, and Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7. I gotta say, the waves seem to be getting progressively better as they go along, as I found that these tracks were more fun, more surprising, really hard on 200cc, and even the graphics seem to be getting a lot better. Granted, they still have every now and then a little bit of nitpicks, but the fact that they're getting into nitpicks as opposed to, what the heck, Nintendo, you're so lazy and money hungry, is probably saying that Nintendo is listening to the fans. At least that's what I'm thinking. It could just be a coincidence that the first couple of waves looked so bad, but these actually look, for the most part, passable, and in the case of Rainbow Road, breathtaking, I would even dare to say. So the Mario Kart Tour tracks have this cool tendency where each lap, well, except for Merry Mountain, that's like one solid thing, but each lap in the other Mario Kart Tour tracks is different. Like one lap you'll be going on one direction, and then the other you'll completely switch paths. And some people have complained that the red arrows that point the way towards your current route are lazy. I personally don't care, because I just think it's really cool that on one lap you could go out of bounds, and in the other that's like the new way to go. And I personally think it's really cool. It allows for, from what I've been told, various standalone versions of these tracks in Mario Kart Tour to combine them together into one track. Now, one thing I really didn't like about London Loop was the music. I thought that it was way too rockish. Mario Kart 8 has usually had big band styles of music, and this sounds more like something out of Guitar Hero Metallica than an actual Mario Kart song, so I was desperately wishing I could mute my Switch, although I figured that wouldn't be a good idea, because then I might not be able to hear the audio cues for when an opponent's about to hit me from behind with an item. Boo Lake was actually really surprising, because generally Nintendo hasn't put a whole lot of effort into these tracks to try to modernize them. They usually just take what was already in Mario Kart Tour and call it a day. But in this game, they made it so that a certain section of it was anti-gravity and had underwater sections. I do think it was a little bit weird that some of the water would put you out of bounds and Lakitu would have to rescue you, and some of it was like normal water. Like maybe they could have differentiated it by making the bad water look purple, like, you know, they've done in the past. But overall, I do think it's great that they didn't just plop in the course from Super Circuit, spruce up the graphics, and call it a day, that they actually went in and tried to keep it up to the Mario Kart 8 standard of reinventing these classic tracks. I do think Boo Lake is a little bit short for my liking, but at the same time, it's so much fun in 200cc to really pull off all those jumps and tricks. It's an absolute blast. Rock Mountain was another case where I didn't really like the music, and the turns were really, really tight. But I appreciate that they added an anti-gravity section to the part where the boulders are bouncing down the hill, and there's the anti-gravity bumpers as well. And you can get a really cool shortcut if you use the glider at the end of it. Maple Treeway was a really fun track for me back when I played Mario Kart Wii. I think that the turns were absolutely ridiculous for a game that primarily revolved around steering your Wii remote like a steering wheel, and they've hardly done anything to make these turns any easier. I don't think there's anything major to talk about that's different, because Maple Treeway was also in Mario Kart 7, but just overall I like the fact that newer iterations of this track got rid of that annoying bouncing bridge near the end and just replaced it with a glider ramp. And I also really like the new music that plays with it. It sounds similar enough to how it was in Mario Kart Wii, while at the same time feeling like it's an all-new track. Then we have Berlin Byways, which is another Mario Kart tour, but unlike London Loop, this music actually sounds really good. Like, it starts out kind of dubsteppy, but then it gets into like semi-orchestral music, and it feels very celebratory and grand, and I really like it a lot. It's really hard to point out specific moments in the tour tracks because they all tend to blend together because they're all based on real-world cities. But I do like how in the final lap, the womps are trying to crush you, and the thwomps get aggressively, or get harder to dodge as you go through the laps. Peach Gardens, I first played in Mario Kart Wii and then experienced its original version in Mario Kart DS later. And I'm pleased to say that it is way better here. Again, if it was changed in Mario Kart Tour, I don't know because I haven't played this game. It starts out pretty similar to how it was in Mario Kart DS, albeit they got rid of some of the flower beds to make it slightly easier to make those turns. The graphics only look marginally better. I wish that they would have gone for even more touches, but it's good enough for what it is. On the third lap, though, is when things get really cool, as you suddenly take a new route through the garden, which eventually causes you to go backward on the track in some instances, and at one point you even have a glider ramp that allows you to glide over the grass statues in reverse. And it's just so cool that they pulled that little trick. It reminds me of how much I loved this game's version of Calamari Desert. How they could take a familiar track and add something new to it. Merry Mountain is probably the most visually appealing track in the bunch, as it's Christmas themed, just in time for the holidays, as most people would say. But despite how good it looks, it's honestly kind of a boring layout. Like, most of the end of the track is just a straightaway. At least it has an anti-gravity section with a trick ramp, like in Mario Kart Wii. So that's pretty cool. It is really nice that a lot of these tracks are actually feeling like they're incorporating elements of Mario Kart 8 into them. And then finally we get to Rainbow Road from Mario Kart 7. Most people consider this the best Rainbow Road in the series, and I'm inclined to agree with them. I do think it's cool how it's one big lap as opposed to multiple laps, so each lap something different is going on. There's a lot of scenic variety, and the 8 Deluxe version made it so that it looks kind of like those runways in the Starlight Carnival Zone in Sonic Colors. I also like how the reflections from the sun are much more dynamic, giving me flashbacks of Ocarina of Time 3D. And I like how the music was remixed just enough to make it feel different, while at the same time still maintaining the essence of the original track. So my thoughts overall on this next wave of tracks are, I like them a lot. I thought they were really fun. I didn't like the music of London Loop and Rock Mountain, but I do think everything else was pretty good. Now, do I recommend the Booster Course Pass as a whole yet? I think it's getting to the point where it does have pretty good value, especially if you go back to Coconut Mall. They actually updated it so that the cars drive in wheelies. Still don't have the Mii's, that's kind of disappointing, but at least they tried to make it less lazy, so maybe at this point you can say, maybe there's other touch-ups that we just haven't noticed yet. But I also think that if you're trying to save money and you don't have the Switch Online expansion pack, then if you're playing online with someone who does, you can play on these tracks using their save data. So I do think that there's more than enough people who are going to purchase these tracks, and that can probably help you save money. But if you're a 200cc lunatic like myself who is trying to get 3 stars on every single cup, then I do think it's worth it, especially because Boo Lake in particular is so much fun to trick off of in 200cc. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Before I close the video, as always, I'd like to give a shout out to my current patrons, Matthew Rakowski, Spoon Ghost, and Splatcat, for helping me out financially during this time. If you would like to join my Patreon, I don't know if this is working or not, but I'm just going to say it anyway until someone listens. The link will be in the description, and until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!